Hey everybody, this is Kurt. I wanted to start a new series today where we take a deep dive look at some of the old school Citadel miniatures, Warhammer, Games Workshop catalogs, and model lines, just to take a look at them. Now you might be wondering, why would I want to spend time doing this? Well, so it's actually pretty simple. So I got into the hobby, into Warhammer, in 2016. I was watching a video on YouTube from a creator known as Striking Scorpion 82. I'll put a link in the video description below. Striking Scorpion 82 makes battle reports for Warhammer 40,000. He records the games that he's playing and posts them on YouTube for everyone to see. And this was, I think it was a more recent one at the time, which was 2016. But I had never seen the hobby before, never seen the game played, never seen the models, at least that I had recalled. And so this was my first experience with it. And upon watching this video, it was enamoring to me. Seeing all of the models, how they were painted, the terrain, the complexity of the rules, everything about it just really spoke to me. So it was at that point that I started my first Warhammer army for Warhammer 40,000, which was Tau Empire. I bought a start collecting box, and I haven't stopped ever since. However, shortly after that, I started playing Warhammer, or Total War Warhammer, the first game, and I got it on a Steam sale, started playing it, and I discovered the world of Warhammer Fantasy, which it truly has become the number one thing in my hobby world, has been fantasy, Warhammer, and Age of Sigmar, those things together. Unfortunately, by the time I got into the hobby, the old world had been killed off in a very unceremonious fashion, and the Age of Sigmar had begun. So I don't have the recollection or the experience of the early days of Warhammer, as some people call it, Old Hammer. That was never something I was around for. So I have to rely on these old school catalogs, some of these older websites that have saved images from these books, so I can really get a taste of how Warhammer was when it first started. I think if you've joined the hobby in the last few years, you're probably in the same boat that I am, that you miss out on all these old school sculpts and even the old lore before they updated it and modernized it. So in this series, that's really what we're doing. We're going to take a look at some old Hammer stuff in the form of these Citadel catalogs, and we're just going to enjoy it together. So if this is the kind of thing you want to see, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and leave some comments below about maybe your first Warhammer models, or something you'd like to see in a future series. This is something I plan to do for some time, as as a millennial, I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and even though I technically wasn't around for this, I still am experiencing this in a similar way, I think. So let's get going here. Let's start with the front cover. Alright, so if I click this, yep, it zooms in. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. So this is called the Blue Catalog, and it said 1991 for the date. And just already at the cover, I'm seeing things that I think I've seen before. Like, this looks like a Harlequin, an early Harlequin. And this is a Fire Dragon. This is a Swooping Hawk. This looks like an epic scale, maybe like a Baneblade or something. Terminator. No idea what that is. Is that an orc? This is a space orc. This is an epic scale Titan. And that's some sort of an orc buggy. This is pretty cool stuff. It's got the classic Goblin Green base trim. Although I see this model, this Terminator, conspicuously has like a khaki. I don't know what that's all about. Alright, so is there like a next page button? If it's small, there is. Okay. So just some general product. Is there a date here? Yeah, 91. Okay. I don't think I'm going to read this. Maybe someday we'll read it. If you're really interested, you can hit this URL here at the top of the page and take a look at that for yourself. It's very important, guys. These are not toys. I might argue differently, but There it is. Alright, so there's a lot in here, but it looks like it's pretty much all Warhammer 40,000. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert on Old Hammer, so I'm not sure even the first date for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, but as a very Philistine view of this, I would say it has not been created yet, question mark. You have Space Fleet there. Ooh, look at that picture, man. That's the, I think that's the Last Stand of the Crimson Fists. That's a classic art piece from Rogue Trader. Man, that's sweet. Okay, Marine Commanders. Everything's black and white here. This is as close as we can get. So there's Lehman Russ, Space Wolf Commander. Yeah, see, the Lord Macragge, Ultramarine Commander. It looks like this is before some of the lore was established on the Primarchs, because they have captains here for the Dark Angels, but there's Lord Macragge. I wonder if that's supposed to be Guilliman, and each piece is sold separately. That is interesting. Boy, how that's changed. I wonder what the price is on these. I hope at some point there's like an order form that we can check that out. Yeah, Lehman Russ, who's a Primarch, and then this is supposed to be Guilliman, who's a Primarch, but just they're known as commanders. That's interesting. His two wolves, Freaky, and Jerry. That banner pole, man. I can think of a million uses for that today. He says cloak and helmet on a stand. That's really neat. These models, their poses look interesting. Their scale is very interesting too. Look at how large their heads are compared to their torsos. Sort of that old Hammer look that I think the older models have that the new models definitely don't. There's more of a realism. Oh, here we go. The Thunder Armor. So these are like the Thunder Warriors. And the Crusade Armor, the Mark II. This is the old Mark III, the old Mark IV, the Mark V, and then I think I'm having a hard time reading that out with the resolution, but I think that's Mark VI. It looks like it. And these look plastic. Artificer Armor. Oh man, these are cool. And designed by Jess Goodwin and the Citadel design team. This is really neat. This is again, it looks like you can purchase these individually. And that's something that today I think that there would be some value to it, but I also could see that becoming prohibitively expensive in the modern day with how it costs to package and produce and to ship these things. I could see that being more expensive than what we're dealing with now. We have chaplains. Boy, I don't recognize any of these sculpts at all. I'm trying to think if I've even seen any of these models. I've never seen them on the tabletop. And I've seen some people, like on Facebook, you'll get in some of these design or painting groups, and you'll see people deciding to paint up old Rogue Trader box sets or whatever. I have never seen these before, even in those contexts, that I know of anyway. To be fair, though, I'm more of a Xenos and Chaos player. I'm not super into the Imperium. These models, these sculpts look a little newer. A hooded tabard and power sword. That's a pretty cool looking model. You got the beakies. Yeah, you can definitely, if I had to choose though, as nostalgic as these might make some people feel, I'd still choose the modern sculpts over these old ones any day of the week. Now these are also considered Space Marines, though it looks like these are early Imperial Guard. They have bolters, but this guy's a las cannon. No, they might still be Space Marines. They look like maybe scouts. Bionic leg, chainsword. That one looks familiar to me. A power glove. That must be what we now call a power fist. You've got the melt-a-gun and all these different bolters. A shuriken catapult. So it's a Space Marine using an ELDAR weapon and a needle gun. I think a needle gun is ELDAR as well. Auto gun, that's something that the cultists use now. Interesting. Wow, look at all these different sculpts. The one thing that I think is really neat about this is that you'd be able to create many very unique tactical squads with all of these different options. You're really able to pick and choose the exact sculpts that you want. And I think that's a neat aspect to this, is that there's so much room for customization within your own army. So these are heavy weapons. Oh, tripod mounted multi-melta. That's pretty cool. Yeah, these are neat. Gunners. So, okay. Alright, that makes sense. A conversion beater. That used to be a troop-mounted weapon. Wow, these are really neat. I really like how the weapons looked. Like this multi-melta and the las cannon, conversion beater. Heavy bolter, I think I like the new one better, but I really like how some of these looked. These look like they're pewter. That'd be my guess. And then you could choose your gunners. Man, that's the amount of granularity that you can, with which you can customize these things. It's pretty impressive for the time being. And is that the Emperor of Mankind? I think it is. That's a great picture. I've never seen that before. That's a picture that I'd have framed on my wall. There's a Blood Angel. Looks like an Ultramarine. Yeah, that's probably the Emperor. Man, that's cool. I'll have to remember this. Save that picture for later. Space Marine Strike Force. Okay, so this is an example of what you would get. And yeah, see, these look newer. Those look somewhat familiar, even. They may have gotten some of these in a bits box I picked up at one point. So this has enough for 3 complete combat squads. So you get 15 in a box. Still no pricing, so I'm assuming that comes later. I'm very curious how much this costs then. Now, let's see. I mean, it's kind of tough to compare because now the new set, the new example, that probably the best comparison isn't a 10-man tactical squad. It would be a 10-man Primaris Intercessor squad, and that'll run you $60. So this would be about $90 today. I'm really curious what the price was then. More pictures of the sprues, and it looks like there might be more options. I can't tell, and I don't really feel like getting in the weeds on this. Oh, but here we go. Now we've moved down to the tacticals, into the Terminators. Oh, these are cool. I like this a lot. A Captain, a Librarian, Marine 1, Marine 2, Marine 3. So this is a little bit... Oh, wow, Terminator box set. You get a Captain, a Librarian, 2 of each, and then... So what is that? 8? Then you get all these different weapon options. Wow. I would say I do. Ooh, and then you have other ones. Close combat variant and a cyclone missile variant. Wow, okay. I would say I really like this aspect of this early era, the 90s, early 90s, for Citadel. The customization is really nice. Grey Knight Terminators. So there's 3 choices. Wow, those look very ornate. I can say with certainty I have never seen these before. Didn't even know these were a thing. Look at the halberds and the greatswords. Man. That's a common misconception, I think, because I've heard from multiple people, and I myself have held this opinion, that the older Citadel sculpts and models are not as detailed as the newer ones. And I think that's false, looking at this. There's a lot of detail captured on these models. To be honest, I'm quite surprised I haven't seen these before now. These seem like the kind of models that people would be pining after just to get their hands on to paint. And they're Trader Terminators. Okay. So the early Chaos. Man, these are cool. I like these a lot. The Inquisition Terminators. I really like this one. Trader Captain. That's a neat looking one. The Assault Cannon. Wow. The Power Sword. I've never seen these either. These are incredible. This is great. This is... Oh, man. The 90s and the 80s. They were a nutty time. This looks incredible. This picture is just so... It's so beautifully cheesy and tacky. Looks like a jean stealer there. These guys with their it looks like sunglasses. Oh, this is incredible. I love that picture. Marine Scouts. Okay, so those other guys weren't scouts. So this guy's got a horn shoulder pad, shuriken catapult, las gun, a punch dagger. That's cool. What does this say? It says, I can't read it. Idonium bellow. I'm not sure what that means at all. Yeah, these guys are not nearly as interesting to me. There's a jet bike. Oh, that's really interesting. So they didn't have... Well, no, there's a motorcycle down here. So some of them rode jet bikes, and some of them rode wheeled bikes with sidecars. Okay. You could have a tech marine. You could have a medic. You could have a chaplain. Wow. And they all come in separate pieces. I'm really curious why they all came in separate pieces. The old land speeders. I think they came out with, there was some sort of promotion a little while ago where they re-released this with modern plastics. And, I get if you had these kits when you were younger, I could see why that might be appealing. But personally, I think they look really bizarre. Looks like something that you'd see out of Star Wars. Dreadnoughts. Oh, this is really interesting. A Furibundus class destroyer dreadnought. I don't know if the lore at this point was that it was interred with the remains of a space marine. These are really different. I've never seen these either. This was an old Contemptor model and a Derrideo model. They look very different than what you saw in the Horus Heresy sets. And just robots. A Crusader robot. These are neat, man. There's a Castellan robot. That's familiar to us, right? And Cataphract, no. But these look like they're ripping off Battletech. Yeah, like some of these are just clear rip-offs. This one is not. This one has more of a Warhammer flavor to it. But some of these are just clear rip-offs. Still cool, though. Rhino and Predator. Yep, we're familiar with these. You'll still see some of these old rhinos on the table. Man, look at these old chassis. Now, this is something that I think you can really see the difference in modern sculpts. The level of detail is a lot higher. Oh, yeah, the old Land Raider. I've seen this guy a lot. Stone Killer. That's great. See, it's called the Imperial Main Battle Tank. So there doesn't seem to be this distinction between the Imperial Guard and the Space Marines yet. It's transfers, yep. Orc transfers, Space Marine transfers. Let's see, that's Dark Angels, Ultramarines, Space Wolves, and Blood Angels. And your Land Raider transfers. Hey, is that White Scars? Looks like White Scars. Minotaurs. That's about all I recognize here. Is that Iron Hands, maybe? There's no fists yet. Mantis Warriors. Okay, Forces of the Imperium. You have a Custody. Oh. Again, these are things I've never seen. So that looks very different from what we have today. I mean, obviously I see the comparison, right? But these guys look like scaled down versions of Space Marines. Got your astropaths and your tech priests. Got some mechanicus guys, but they just look like Space Marines who are more into technology. Servitors, an Inquisitor. That's kind of cool. The Navigators, that's kind of neat too. Of course, your Ratlings. Arbites, your police officers. Titan crew, that's neat. Sanction Psychers. Hive Gangers. Okay, so now we're talking about Necromunda. Adventurers. This is neat. Yeah, something else that they had then that we don't even have a comparison for now. Just these random one-off models for role-playing. So here's a guard. And these, they look, this guy looks different. It looks like Lord Solar Macarius. Yeah, they look different, I suppose, from Space Marines, but there was those other Space Marines that I thought were scouts that really weren't, that they don't really look any different from. So the Commissars, those are pretty cool. Oh, yep, Beastman Packmaster. These are neat. More guard. More guard. Not really interested in these. Heavy weapons teams. Yeah, except they're not even teams. They're just guys with heavy weapons. These are the same ones that were equipped with the Space Marines. Yeah, so this looks essentially identical. So there's a square basis. This makes me think that Warhammer Fantasy was a thing. This just happened to be the sci-fi book. More jet bikes. Imperial assault weapons. These are cool. The laser destroyer. A thud gun, that's neat. Tarantula, yep, we know that one. Sentinel, boy, it looks different. The mole mortar with the squads, that's pretty cool. Another great picture here. Page 48. I wonder how many pages there are. More guard sprues. Alright, so it looks like you're just buying a big kit. Ogrins. This guy. Oh man, I like that guy. Ripper guns. More Ogrins. Squats. We might be seeing these guys come back to the tabletop soon. They've got musicians, synthesizers. That's incredible. These guys are great. Oh, man. Yep. If these guys come back out, I'm definitely starting it. I'm just assuming that the kits are going to be somewhat true to this with an updated flair. That's an army that I would love to collect. The Hearthguard. Interesting. One of the things I'm finding really fascinating about this is seeing some of the same terms that I'm familiar with from modern models and new lines even. Seeing those terms and those patterns show up 30 years ago. Like the Hearthguard, I believe Hearthguard are part of the Fire Slayers line. Squat bikes. Heavy weapons. Chaos squads. This is great. This is incredible. Squats and exo armor. Space dwarves. What's the difference? I'm not sure if there is much of a difference. Here's the orcs. These are cool. That Blood Axe, Bad Moon, Death Skull, Goff, Evil Sun, Snakebite. Yeah, they really took a lot of care to customize, or give you the option to customize all your models. Of course, I'm sure that the production quantity was so low at this point that there was a couple guys in a back room somewhere just pouring stuff in molds. Made it a lot easier to have this level of customization. The old shock attack gun, that's cool. A Marine Tin Boy. Orc Cybor, that's incredible. And a Squig Catapult. Runt herds, runts, and squigs. Okay, I gotta see this. This is a big catalog. There's a lot going on here. I love these runts, though. Those are great. The Gretchen. Orc MADBOYZ. Man, these are great models. The Minders. Holding a weird boy. That's hilarious. There's the Bad Moon there. Freebooters. These are cool. Storm Boy of Corn. That's interesting. That makes sense. Orc Genestealer Hybrid. Chaos Champion for the Orcs. That's interesting. I'm really curious what the lore was like back in this edition. Musicians. Man, look at all these guys. A Bolta. The combinations that you could make. Just, it's insane. Got some Goth Boys, Snakebite Boys, Bad Moons, Blood Axes, Evil Sons, the Goth Rockers, Heavy Weapons Teams, Space Orc Raiders. Alright, we're going to scoot through this a little bit, because I want to get to the Eldar before too long. So, yep, you got Standard Bearers, interesting. See that present in the modern models. Captains, champions, musicians. Interesting that they had musicians for 40k. These look like just the Guardians, yeah. Not terribly different from what we've seen. You've got Guardians here. These look like Rangers, though. Those are cool. The Rangers that I have, anyway, the Finecast ones, they don't look too dissimilar, especially from this guy here. These are a range that is sorely in need of updating. Like the Avatar of Cain, this is a really cool looking model. But I know that between this one and the next one, there was at least one model, and then they have the Forge World model, which was the best one that you can't get anymore, to my knowledge, anyway. And these old Warlocks and Farseers. Yeah, some of these models were still the only ones you could get until recently. The Dire Avengers have a new sculpt. Some of them are new. But I'm honestly having a hard time, even as a collector, which ones are the old ones and which ones are new sculpts. So Dark Reapers have had an update. And the Swooping Hawks definitely had. Obviously, Harlequins have their own line now. I'm totally not interested in it at all. Here's their jet bikes. Looks like they have like a pointy nose. Now that Harlequin canopy, that's neat. I'd like to purchase a few of those if you're a Harlequins collector, I bet. They're heavy weapons teams. They've got D cannons, last cannon, scatter laser, heavy plasma gun, missile launcher. This is when a lot of them shared the same rules. Oh, here we go. The Dreadnoughts. They're Wraith Lords, basically. These look pretty neat. They look pretty similar to the new ones. The new ones are great. They're old Warwalkers. These are cool. That one right here is neat. Then you got Genestealers. So early Tyranids. Oh yeah, these are cool. Zotes. And you got some Chaos here. I'm a big Chaos fan. Got a Bloodletter head. That's interesting. Yeah, see, like, these are cool within context. Like, you got your Slanesh guys, you got your Khorne guys, your Tzeentch guys, and your Nurgle guys. So, within the context, with the context that they're in, these are really neat sculpts and models. But I think if I were to have to choose, I very easily would be choosing the modern models, even the models in between this edition and their rework. These are okay, you know, but I really feel like what they've done with them lately is better. Now here's some in plastics. So everything that we were looking at must have been in metal. And you have the Battle Titans, but I think these are Titanicus. Yeah, these are Titanicus. Which I have absolutely no interest in. They got those interesting bases, though. That's pretty cool. Warhounds. Epic scale tanks. That's cool. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen someone trying to remake that in 28mm. Some people who locally who play Epic, but I'm just not. I don't know. Oh, this is cool. The Gargant. Slash a Gargant. That, yeah, these are neat. Orc War Machines. The Skull Hammer. The Giblet Grinder. The Brain Crusher. Gut Ripper. Bone Cruncher. Bowel Burner. These are great. And Epic Scale Demons. Interesting. The Bloodthirster, which looks like just a 28mm model. Lord of Change, a Grid and Clean one. Keeper of Secrets. That's pretty cool, though. Those craters are neat. Then you got... What's this called again? Not Space Hulk. Battlefleet Gothic. Those are neat. That's a game that would be cool if they relaunched. I'd play it. So, now we're getting back into the rule books. Or the rule books. Yep, so Warhammer Fantasy is around. I don't see any models here for them. Mighty Empires, Space Hulk, Blood Bowl, Hero Quest, Space Crusade, Fantasy Roleplay, Talisman, Dungeon Quest, paint sets, dice, combat cards, troll games, fantasy novels, Drakenfels, that's interesting. For Warhammer 40,000 models, Inquisitor, Deathwing, Route 666, Ghost Dancers. Interesting. And here's the back cover. Wow. Well, that was a big catalog. I guess my final impressions, with summary of my impressions, I'd say the blue catalog from 1991 has a lot in it. Even though they didn't have a lot of factions released for Warhammer 40,000, and this was only their sci-fi stuff, I'm surprised by the amount of models that you could purchase, and I don't see the prices anywhere. There's probably an order form, a detached order form that I don't have access to. I would be really curious to see how much these cost, but the one thing I didn't like was that the interior was not full color, and there wasn't a lot of explanation about how you're supposed to run the squads. So it's one of those things where it's like, I get that like this was a product catalog for people who knew the game. It wasn't like a marketing tool. But still, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing a lot of cool models, but I would have liked to have seen more in the way of pricing and understanding more how the game worked. Or even the lore. Like just, maybe it's because I'm looking at it in hindsight, but I'm really curious why some of the things were the way they were. Maybe there just was no lore. Maybe they were just making cool models, and people were like, hey, that's cool, I'm picking it up. But, hey, I'm the new guy, so if anybody watching this video knows the answer to any of these questions, it'd be great if you could leave a comment so that I could educate myself on the early days of Warhammer. That's about it for this video today. Look for the next episode in the next few days. Be going through, I think, the red catalog. I think that's the next one. So if you'd like to see that, if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. please leave a comment. I'd love to engage and answer questions or ask questions, whatever it may be, down below. Thanks for joining me, and until next time, see you later.